All right, welcome back to the Conquest Corner. On this particular episode, we are continuing our going through Sorcerer King's large update that they did. They essentially redid the whole faction. We'll discuss a little bit of the main changes overall, but otherwise, this particular video, we're going to be going through Court of Water. So we're going to talk about the spells, the rituals, and the units that are just purely water-based. We'll also talk about how ghouls work with some of the water stuff to see if we like them for that as well. Keep in mind, if you are looking to pick up anything for Conquest, we have our discount code in the show notes. Train Kickers saves you 10%, helps us out as well. For this, I said these were the updates from May 10th. Sorry, May 12th, I think technically it was. You might notice a pause in the middle, and then the light change a little bit because it's still light out. But when this comes back, I might be doing some other things. I'm starting it now, but I have some other tasks I'm going to be working on. So there might be a little bit of an awkward pause here in the middle. All right, so without much further ado, let's start taking a look at this. Now, what I will say, water and earth are we also are going to do mortal units after that, but water and earth are things we didn't have before at all. So in discussing these, we have to talk about what does that mean? And like I said, when it's all said and done, how do we combine these different bits? Because now that absolutely matters as well. Also, when we talk about water and earth, they have ways to put some tokens down, so that's a little bit of something different as well. I have to find that particular rule because again, there it is. Okay, so I have that and we'll talk about that as well. All right, let's get into that. Down, there we go. First thing we want to talk about is elemental markers. So, Court of Water, as well as Earth, calls for players to place water markers, or earth markers if it's earth-based, of course, to place markers. The area within 3 inches of those markers is zonal terrain, with the water terrain special rule. Just want to check to make sure I have it right because we don't really play with a lot of water. If at least half your stands are standing in water, -1 to your clash. Like I said, it's a single infantry base. You measure from any point on it. Like I said, if you're within 3 inches, and you essentially have one of them. And if you're both Sorcerer Kings, then you can each have one. All right, so now let's actually get into those spells. All right, so let's see. Do you want to bring any water characters? Keep in mind some of the big changes they did. Your character, your spells and rituals are no longer related to the character, related to the court. So if you have a water character, they get all the water spells, they get all the water rituals. If your character casts a spell of a particular court, and that is a ritual that is being worked on, they can put a token on it. If, say, it's a water ritual, you have a water unit go, they might all have water element rule or an elemental rule. That essentially means that they can put a token down when they activate. All right, so let's take a look at Court of Water spells. All right, so Blood to Water. It is range 12, attunement 3, 1 hit per success on any regiment, and if you're touching a water unit, you take additional hits equal to your resolve, including all special rules. The fact that you get to include the special, so we know air did it similar for defense, but your defense, no, it's not your evade. Your defense might not be great. And even with your bonuses, but if you're a big enough unit, you are getting extra resolve bonuses. You're automatically taking the highest. You're getting pluses based off your unit size. So again, if someone has a decent resolve, this is going to actually get a good amount of damage in them. And keep in mind that they do take a resolve afterwards, which could theoretically be worse because maybe you killed a stand or so. So, generally your characters are 7. Maharaj is 8 casting dice. So you could actually get quite a bit on this. Pretty good. This is especially good if someone has good resolve but bad defense, because you're going to just get a lot more damage into them. And then you might lower it. Where the air need to get into your defense, if you have good defense and worse resolve, you're more likely to save more of those. So, Blood to Water, I like. Laminar Flow. Friendly regiment gets aim shot. Okay, and keep in mind, you don't have to cast the spell on a water unit. So you could cast it on something else. We know that you already, if you think of, say, for just a moment, like Windborne Djinn. Oh, you cast this spell onto them. Now they have aim, so now they can move and shoot. So now they're effectively 25-inch range on their 4s instead of just sitting on the 3s. Swirling Embrace. Unit gains untouchable. Reroll 6s on your defense. That's actually super strong. We've seen a lot of these things sit on 3s. So 3s rerolling 6s is quite good. Induce Hypoxia. All these spells are 12-inch range. All these spells are attunement 3 if I haven't said so. So Induce Hypoxia. Target enemy regiment must use its lowest unmodified resolve in the regiment till the end of the round. Very situational, but potentially strong. Having to use the lowest, depending on what numbers you're looking at, could do you a lot of good. But like I said, it is a little bit up in the air. Depends on the unit you're going against. Flowing Stride. The enemy ignores effective hindering terrain. You want to charge and not lose your impacts and inspired and all of that. Great spell to have. I could absolutely see this getting cast. So it's cheaper to now do Bound to the Elements to make yourself a brute. So I could see it casting it on my own unit because there's a forest in the way, and then we rush through the forest and hit you. So Flowing Stride, I'm a big fan of. And last one, target friendly mortal. The mortal regiment heals 5 wounds. Healing the 5 is good because, again, a lot of your stuff is like 4 wounds or there's some cav options that are a bit more. But 5 will get you someone back because of your normal stands. The problem I have right now, I haven't looked through the other mortals quite as much. So, I don't know, maybe we can take a quick look at them. Just more of in terms of thought purposes. Maharabadi Initiates, I like, but they're only 4 wounds. If someone, and on like evade 2, if someone really hits them, they're gone anyway. So you can't heal something that's gone. Sorcerer Saints are not mortal, so can't use it on them. The Nora Disciples, if someone's in their defense 2 with no evade, if someone's into them, they're probably gone anyway. So useful if someone's shooting into them, but if they get into them, otherwise you're kind of down. I mean, healing 5 always has some uses, but keep in mind also if you break, you can't heal. Rajakur are more defensive. Defense 2 with the shield and Harden 1, so it could help a bit there. And that's it. Okay. Is that it? I guess so. They don't have anything else that could use it. I don't think they do. I think this is all brutes and monsters near the end. Yeah, that's all brutes and monsters. All right. It sounds better than it looks because you're looking at the Noor, Rajakur, or your Initiates. That's it. Currently, at least. We know there might be more mortals in the future. So that one's very meh. Water to Blood, not nearly as good until we see more mortal units. Really? We did say later, when we do the Sorcerer Saints, we'll have to just talk about them. We do mortals. I know they're not, but we haven't been talking about them for each one individually. Maybe we should, but I haven't done it yet, so I'll get to that later. All right, so spells in general. Once we talk about the units, we'll talk about the spells a little bit more. I see some pretty good standouts. I see some others that water right now feels like a very good support. Well, potentially some heals, giving untouchable, giving aim shots, so that way that regiment doesn't have to waste its action to do that. Putting someone the lowest resolve could be good. Blood to water, getting some damage if they have really good resolve, pretty decent. So it feels pretty supportish for the moment. Overall, though, I like it. I might like it a little bit more than some of the air stuff. I think I still like the fire the most, but I like what I'm seeing. And anytime there's a nice way to heal, I'm a big fan. It's very limited, so I don't know how great that heal is going to really be. That's about the rituals. Now, here's a little extra bonus for this. Once a ritual of water has been successfully completed, you may select one other Court of Water ritual that you currently have access to start preparing. So you can just start doing another one of these. All right, so Call Forth the Deep is a 6. Remember, the idea is to put down markers. So you find a point on the battlefield, and you get to put a marker down, even if it's underneath a regiment. And you put a water marker. Air within 3 of it is considered piece of zonal terrain with the water feature, which does mean, we're locked in combat. I can put this in a spot where it puts most of your stands in water, so you have lesser clash. Remains until the end of the battle. Only one martyr worker may be on the battlefield at a time. If you are going to do this again, pick a new one up and replace the old. Okay, Violent Geyser. So call forth the deep. We're going to see some other stuff that cares about that, but making you minus of a clash, useful. And a 6, a little bit cheaper than we've seen for some of the others. Violent Geyser. The target enemy regiment on the battlefield currently within a piece of water terrain takes 6 hits at armor piercing 1, no morale. So you do have to call forth the deep first, and they have to still be in it. So that does mean you have to pick areas where the enemy wants to be, and ideally you don't want to be, because you could take them negative from the call forth the deep as well. You won't take the Violent Geyser, you're not going to take the damage because it is enemy, but you could be lowering your own stats. In addition, till the end of the round, any regiments currently within a piece of water terrain reroll successful morale rolls of 1, then you may immediately move a water marker up to 6 inches. Okay. Wait, so in addition, until the end of the round, they take that, you may then... So I'm guessing... What's the timing on that? Then at the end of the round? I don't think that timing's very clear. Check to see if people talked about it yet. I don't see that. You may then immediately... So... I would say, probably not end of the round, I would say that you may then immediately... So it's activate those hits, then you move it. That would be my guess. That makes more sense because if you move it, then you could guarantee some other people standing in it. So, but I agree that the wording on's a little bit poor in that particular one. Soothing Tides, target water marker on the battlefield. Until the end of the round, the area within 6 inches is a zonal terrain with the water terrain special rule instead of the usual 3. So you make a giant bubble. Because within 6, now you're looking at a giant 12-inch bubble there. Court of Water regiments currently within a piece of water terrain, heal 4. You may then immediately move it up to 6 inches. So you could put it down and near you, or a position to help you out a little bit. I want to check something real fast. Okay, so it is what I thought. I just wanted to, again, I want to make sure I reread things, just make sure I have it right. Water elemental units, so some of the brand new units we have a rule that, hey, when you're in water, you don't take the negative and you get some bonuses. You actually get to reroll 6s. I believe it's to hit. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, I just talked about it. I guess I need to check on that to be sure, because it would be bad to say it was. Yeah, water elemental rule. This regiment does not suffer the effects from being a piece of water zonal terrain. Instead, it rerolls failed to hit rolls of 6. Okay, so talking about that then, having water near your water units is good. Having it near your other ones makes it tougher. So I talked about their spells being a really good support, but their particular rituals really want just water stuff. Now, if you're the little 3-inch one, you're maybe not as worried about because you just put it on your enemies. But for Soothing Tides, which is something you're probably going to want, healing 4 is great. And you're making it bigger, so they're hitting much worse. You're rerolling 6s. When does it go away? Until the end of the round. But let's keep in mind something here. Court of Water lets you, hey, when you're done one, you can start another one. Which means if you can get a Soothing Tides and a Violent Geyser in the same round, you could take your marker that you put previously, because nothing destroys it, at least nothing says here at least. So your marker's down. I now make it a giant thing, and then I get 6 hits at armor piercing 1 after I've healed my guys up. Keep in mind, later rounds, so rounds 5 to 10, the first ritual you start in a round gets 5 markers on it. So if you start with, say, Violent Geyser, because it requires more, you're starting with 5. You then are looking at needing, 8 more markers between your units, and if a sorcerer is leading it. So probably once we're done all this, we'll talk about strategies of what sort of lists to make with all that kind of stuff. But let's go to sorcerer for a second. Okay, all characters in the army must select the same court as the warlord. So if the sorcerer is your warlord, everyone's water. And when a friendly character performs spellcasting action, if you got 4 or more, you can do an extra cast. which means that, hey, when you cast a water spell, you get to put a marker on a water ritual. That means all your characters can do it twice. There's potentially 6 alone, especially when talking about a Maharaj, because a Maharaj has 8 dice, so he's much more likely to get those 4. So I think if you're going water, Sorcerer Leader is probably your best bet, because you're really trying to, spell-wise, your spells don't have to target water, so they have some options. You could have a couple mortal units in there to really make some use of that. You can make yourself ignore a lot of the terrain. The hindering is probably the worst bait, because you're already ignoring water terrain, effectively. Putting people in bad resolves, giving untouchable to a lot of your units, because you can cast the spells in that way up to 3 times. Giving aim shot to some of your shooting units, or getting some hits on people and they're touching your water units to get some more. And then you are looking to, like I said, together they need 13, but if it's a later round, rounds 5 to 10, you're getting 5 for free. So you only need 8. Your double casting spells, that's 3. I've failed before, but that's 3 to 6, let's say. So just a few water units and you got it. So if you get these both together, you could pump up the size. 12-inch bubble is actually really big on the board. 6 inches from a spot. You put that anywhere near an objective, then you can guarantee the objective you're fighting over, you are much better on and they are much worse on. And then you're going to hit them with 6 hits with armor piercing. I think so far, at least off of this, I think solo water is definitely an option. I think solo fire sings well. I think this does really well. Solo air, I'm iffy on. I don't know if it has quite the amount of legs that you need. Notice there is no way to double activate, or get the extra action, I should say. I would think, since these are all under rituals, the next command card can always still be drawn based off of that wording. And hey, here's a way you might get more than one. So you could stack Soothing Tide, something big to hit, Violent Geyser, something else, and just try to wipe some people down. So, I mean, Violent Geyser, the second part matters more about going before the Soothing Tides first, but so be it. All right, so do you want your ghouls to be water? Well, if you're running water, yeah. They have the Elemental Conduit rule, which is actually going to help. Water wants a lot of tokens. Everyone else, since they're only really getting one, a Maharaj has an ability to do it as well. The extras, actually, let's take a look at the Maharaj real fast. It's when they do the Elemental Conduit draw event, one ritual, to any ritual currently paired instead of the same court. Okay, and when the ritual is successfully completed, you may immediately select one additional ritual you currently have access to. So actually, he's not bad for the leader either if you're doing a bunch of water, because your elementals don't have to match anymore. If you're only running water, if that's really your big push, then Sorcerer is probably better. If you're running a little bit of a mix, but you want to focus mostly on water, Maharaj becomes a really good push, because one, the Sorcerer wouldn't let you mix, but the Maharaj then, hey, when a ritual is completed, you get to an access to water, kind of lets you do that as well anyway, but you don't have to match for the Elemental Conduit draw event anymore. So let's say you're doing fire and water, your fire can still put down on that water, so you don't have to actually worry about the rituals quite as much. I would say, though, if that's the case, I'm still thinking about always taking 3 characters. If I'm doing that, I'm taking my other characters as water, and the Maharaj is the one who's going to be something different. He'll be, say, the fire one, or the air, or the earth. If he wants to go on a Mahut, he's got to be earth. So maybe that's a thing there. So my ghouls, though, if I'm trying to push for water, yeah, I'm very happy with that. Elemental Conduit getting more down. Again, you don't necessarily have to, but especially with them, then they can go stand in the water. I can put the marker out where I think my ghouls are going to be, or my ghouls engage. You're worse to hit my ghouls, which is good, because ghouls don't survive very great. And then my ghouls are better. I'm 6 attacks, reroll, on, if inspired, on 3, rolling 6s. Ghouls do a bunch of damage, because they just get lots and lots of hits. That'll be even better. So love my ghouls for that. All right, let's go to the now entirely new units, because none of this existed before. And again, I know the Sorcerer Saints could be, they're elemental. We'll talk about them in a future time. We'll do them when they do mortals. All right, so first cav we have here, Madrid Lancers. Or Marid, not Madrid, Marid Lancers. 190, 60 points extra stand. Their move 7, volley 1, that's fine, who cares. A clash 3 with 5 attacks, 5 wounds. 3/3 with 1 evade. Elemental Conduit. Everything we're looking at now is going to have Elemental Conduit. So, Fluid Formation, always nice, especially on a cav unit. You can kind of turn as you wish. Brutal Impact 1 with 3 impacts, and Vanguard 3. So, move 7 with that, you're looking at 17 inches up the board. They're medium, so you could be coming in from the side. And then Fluid Formation, you don't have to worry about your facing. You could actually run past your opponent and then rotate. Or get to the side of them, and with your 17, maybe push up to the side, rotate, hit. Tidal Wave. If a Court of Water Ritual command card was activated in the previous draw command step, they get access to the following action. Out of combat action. Their regiment performs a charge action. They ignore the effects of hindering terrain, which is big because this is going to give you Brutal Impact 2 and +2 impact. So you'll be 5 impacts each on Brutal 2. With Fluid Formation, like I said, I'm going to make a separate cav video because some people have asked about it. I want to do that because it sounds fun to me. One thing to keep in mind with cav, so sometimes people get in trouble with, is like, I want to put my cav here because they're about to go do this. They're about to hit something. They're going to do all this damage. Yeah, but you put your cav where I could do something about it. I can see you. Oh, I can see you. I'm going to move charge you. I don't care if I do anything to you. Your cav who want to charge because that's their main facet, as we see here. Now they just stand there. So with Fluid Formation, that means I can just run by you. I'm not looking to tee off on you correctly. I'm looking to stay outside of your arcs. If I can stay outside of your arc and outside of a other than super long bomb charge range, I'm safe. And I'm faster than you. So this means that I could then get my free turn, out of combat action charge, and then swing. And 5 impacts at Brutal Impact 2 is going to do tons of damage to people, unless they're all evade, of course. But a Wall Elemental, like I said, you don't take any negatives for being in water zone terrain, and you get to reroll 6s, hit rolls of 6. So, yeah, 5 impacts. If you can stand them in water, even better for all those bonuses. And you're in water, your opponent is worse. Your opponent has to inspire to get back to their original number. So I absolutely love these guys. 190 and 60 more points per stand is on the expensive side. A 3-pack isn't bad. I could see running in a 4-pack. I know some people try to run their impact cav in really big bricks. I'd probably run 4 personally if I could do that. I think that's a really good way to put these guys together, because that's giving you tons of impact, and that will get the damage onto people that you need. I paused there for a moment because I checked the door. I thought there was a sound at the door. The dog thought there was a sound too because he got up, but apparently it wasn't. I also went back and looked at the Sorcerer Saints. Sorcerer Saints actually go really well into water because Sorcerer Saints won't get the water elemental rule, but they can do some other good buff stuff. But we'll talk about them later because it's probably best to see all of it before we get to them. Ghouls I'm talking about just because it fit really well for fire. All right. Absolutely love these guys. I think these guys are going to do a lot of good. Marid Sahar, 170 points, 60 points extra stand. This is a different cav unit. So comparatively, they volley better because they're going to actually shoot someone, so they're on volley 2. They're on clash 2, so 1 less clash. They still have, 1 less attack. Still on 5 wounds, 3/3/1 for defense, so resolve defensive aid. And both on 7s. Still elemental conduit, of course. They're barrage 4 and 12 inch with Fluid Formation. Especially important on your shooting ones because they tend not to be able to stand up nearly as well to getting smacked. So, and they're Wizard 5. Rather low total, but still Wizard 5. They gain access to the Blood to Water spell and may perform 1 free spellcasting action during its activation. Ooh. So Fluid Formation, turn them. You can shoot into someone at 12 inches, and then 12-inch spell of doing some auto hits on them. Keep in mind, Blood to Water. So we'll scroll back to where that was, just to make sure we are good on this. Blood to Water is the 1 hit per success, and if they're touching water, resolve characteristic. So let them hit your Lancers. then have these guys go, shoot into them, take some extra damage from it. On the 5, you're not going to probably get too many hits off of that, but if they have a different resolve, you will get that onto there as well. You could, hey, Laminar Flow, give them aimed, so those guys will be aimed. They'll be hitting on 3s and instead. Untouchable is really good on those Lancers for once they get stuck in. They want to charge, sooner or later they'll be stuck in. Putting people on lowest resolve is quite good. Okay. So far, I'm liking water a lot. I'm liking what it does. It does the sort of things I like to play. Aqueous branding. Until the end of the round, if an enemy regiment was the target of a spellcasting action from this regiment, so you hit someone with your blood to water, friendly spellcasters targeting the enemy regiment with a spell from water can roll one additional success. We saw the air units got removed their abilities to give you auto successes. This keeps it. Now, a good variety of those spells aren't actually trying to hurt your opponent, but other people casting blood to water do. That's probably, actually thinking about it, that's really the main one. What else do you got? Oh, or giving them hypoxia, lowest unmodified resolve. Those are the two that you're doing. But an auto success on blood to water means it's much more likely to go off, and hey, they have a decent resolve. This is a way to sort of dogpile onto them. So, not the biggest ability, but still very useful, and it's probably used on a spell that is nice. And hey, they're a water elemental. So, much more support. Lancers are much more combat focused. I prefer the Lancers. They're going to be a dual kit, I'm sure. I want Lancers because of what they do. Getting in and charging people and hitting them. Sorcerer Kings will still have the same problem they've always had. If you take out our casters, you have crippled us. You know, it gets rough without our casters, which means the Lancers are exceptionally good at that because they're fast and they can engage fluid formation. You can't try to rush past them to get to my caster. I will turn, see you. I don't mind move charging with this unit, so that means I'm essentially a 14 plus a d6. I'm going to be able to hit you, and if I've done that out of combat action, because I could move and then do that charge, I will get a good amount of damage onto you. So I feel they're more necessary. And let's face it, we don't have a whole lot of other water options. We'll talk about the others. But of the two, yeah, the Lancers. And I honestly feel the Lancers are a good support. They're a good reason to take water anyway. Because, like I said, we looked at some of those water rituals. Some of the water rituals are quite good. Putting out the token and putting down some water spots. Again, if you're intermixing, now you have to just be a little bit more careful. But Maharaj leading, the other two are water. I'm going to be putting these down and pumping that out. I can get to maybe heal these guys, lower your stats. And if I'm careful with where I place them, or this marker, it measured out ahead of time, figure out your distances. But you can make sure that 6-inch doesn't actually hit where you are. So you can kind of figure out where your main line is going to be and hit past that. Or before that, I should maybe say. So the Sahara, though, I do still like. I do like them, but I think I'm the Lancers, I think I kind of get a more of a need for personally. The only other problem with this Aqueous branding, yeah, they still have to be close enough to actually be able to hit them, and that can cause a little bit of a problem. I don't want my characters to get too close. Marid Lord, do they only have one monster here? Okay, so this will be pretty fast. Move 7, still fast. If anyone knows lore-wise, I mean, I could look it up, but I don't know if they've said otherwise. What these are supposed to look like? I'm curious. I know I could look it up and just do some Google searching of essentially the base lore they take it from. But Volley 2 Clash 3, it's 11 attacks on 17 wounds, good amount of wounds. 4 resolve, 3 defense, and 1 evade. Pretty typical of monsters to be that 4-3-1. Cleave 1, Flurry. So only 11 attacks, but you're getting rerolls. Very likely that you're getting most, especially if you're inspired, most, if not all of those to hit. And impact 6, good amount of impact, especially on 3, so you're going to get a couple in there to begin with. It has access to following action. Bringer the Deluge. out of combat action. Now I'm going to paint on the point on the battlefield within 10 inches of this regiment, even one beneath a regiment, and place a water marker. So, do you need markers and you're not doing the ritual? Here's a great way to do it. This monster is medium. So turn 2, depending on where you want to be, it is an action. So you can move 7 up and put this out. You could put this almost 17 inches up. Everything 3 of that is zonal terrain and water. The terrain feature remains to the end of battle. And hey, you only get 1 water marker. So that means you don't have to start with a ritual to put a marker down. You could use him to do it for you. That also means he could wait till turn 3 to do this. Let's say turn 1, he just moves up twice. Let's assume you come in from the backfield. All right, so you're up 14. You could then, hey, now you're in the turns where you could charge, but it's only turn 3. Your opponent probably isn't up far enough. Okay, so you move up 7, you're up 21. Put this out 10, you're up 31 inches now with this particular piece. And turn 3, you could start having your turning it into a geyser or stretching out the size to then turn it to a geyser and things like that. If a Court of Water ritual command card was activated during the previous draw command card step, you get the following action. Hey, out of combat, you get the same thing. You can perform a charge, ignore hindering, brutal impact, and +2. So you could be 8 on brutal 2. And of course, he doesn't take negatives from water and gets to reroll hit rolls of 6s while in water. Doesn't matter on the flurry, would matter for the impact. Unless there's a way to make someone lose flurry. Not that I'm aware of, and you don't get to reroll rerolls in this game. Okay, he's 210, so he's on a little bit of lower cost for monsters. Nice speed at 7. Good number of wounds at that 14. Decent number of attacks with cleave 1, so don't go into the hardiest things at 11 attacks. Yes, you're more likely to get close to 11, but you go into someone who could hurt you back, maybe not so much. But he can put down the markers for you. And then if the previous one was a water ritual, you can get even better damage into it. So you could, if you need to on a particular turn, you would need the marker first. Water rituals require the marker first. I was about to say, because, you could bring in the deluge. You could technically use that to move it around if it ends up being in the wrong spot. But he could put it down turn 3 and then start hitting people turn 4. And turn 4, from then on out, if you want, you could have him be doing this tidal wave. Because with water, you have a really good shot at getting your rituals pretty much every turn. If you stack it correctly. Even later around, like we said, some of those only require 6. Which means as long as you still have a character left, even if they can't cast a spell. And water has a lot of self-targetable spells. One of the problems I ran into in the past, when I was playing in the past with fire, there was like one spell that was self-target, and a lot of the other stuff would target enemies, which means if I wanted to do a spell because I needed it for various reasons, it sometimes was always easy to do. Like I would put the one on me, these guys are in the back, they have Aura Death, that doesn't matter, but I'm putting it on them because I need to self-cast to do Kudu Kavach or something else. Most of your spells self-target, which means you can get the extra 1 marker you need, or this guy activates Elemental Conduit, he puts the 1 marker you need. So, very easy to make sure that you are actually getting off your rituals every round. It is exceedingly important because for your rituals, you need that marker, but at least he can put it out. He could put out the marker. So, in say turn 3, the turn where maybe he's not charging because I'm kind of like far or maybe ill-positioned, or him move charging, not quite as good. Like, yeah, he'll do a bunch of damage on the impact and all. About 17 wounds can still be eaten through. You don't necessarily want to be into the middle of the opponent's line too early, which means he'll throw out the marker. I'll expand the marker. Hit people with damage. If I don't think I'll be able to expand it that round, or if I don't need to expand it, I'll just hit some damage. He could put it down, and then literally the next card I draw a moment later could do the damage. So I could put it onto a spot where someone I know won't go yet, has already went. It will still be there. I'll get 6 AP 1 hits. Then the following round, I'll have a different ritual go off. I'll give him his bonus, and he will just go run across the board. Okay, so you're only getting 3 units if you're talking about water. If you're doing water, obviously you're going to take them. A Marid Lord, I can see definite good use of one. I could absolutely see good use of two. So, like me personally, when I test this stuff out, I probably would, at 210, I might test out two. If I'm running Soul Water, I'm probably taking two of these. I'm probably taking two Lancers, a Sahar, and then like some Mortals to kind of fill it out. Yeah, I need some Mortals for my characters. Oh, one thing of interest. Your characters won't be able to go with any of these units because they're Cav, not Brutes. And Bounty Elements turns you to a Brute. Or at least it always did. Did they swap the way that works since now you have at least one spot where you couldn't go otherwise? Let's take a look at Bounty Elements because we want to make sure we're correct on this. Yep, changes to Brute. So no, you're not added in there. So you will need Mortal type units to put your characters in. So a unit of Initiates and some Rajakur to kind of give beefed out. My Sorcerer, since she casts or can shoot, I usually put in Denor. And then yeah, I'm going what? Two and one, and this is probably 3 or 4 packs. I think that's a pretty good base. Sprinkle the rest of the taste, and if you're just doing water, you are using that water to expand out hit with Violent Geyser to really help you pump out a lot more damage. 6 hits at AP1, especially if you can get it out to that essentially 12-inch bubble. I know it's a 6-inch around, but essentially a full 12-inch bubble. You can put a lot of damage onto some people. You could especially put that out in spots where they're not safe then. They want to stay in the back to protect things. No. I'm going to put a bunch of damage on them. My Lancers or my Lord will hit them. Ooh, I'm liking the solo water list. Otherwise, if I'm not running solo, and if I'm running solo, like I said, Sorcerer's probably my Warlord. If I'm not running solo, maybe mixing with fire, maybe air. We'll talk about the mixing once we get through them all. I'm not sure. And some of it's tough to say. You can look at some things and say like, oh yeah, this will be a great way to put it all together. And it just doesn't work, for one reason or another. So I'm not sure, but I am liking that mixture. Oh, nighttime enough, getting a little bit dark. So I guess I'm mowing the lawn tomorrow. Not that I want to, but I'll just get up early and do that. That's fine. Doesn't have nothing to do with anything. I just looked outside because the lights flashed for a second, so I wasn't sure what the look was out there. All right, well, that does it for us for this particular video. That tells us all about water. Very excited about water. I'm more excited about... So, I would say for the moment, I'm most excited about water. Fire I have the most of. So, I can go play a game tomorrow if I had the time and play a full fire list and stuff like that. Air, I'm a little less excited about trying out, like just air and kind of running that. I don't mind it for support. I like it for what it does, but it doesn't interest me quite as much. Water, I'm absolutely loving the look of. I might have to print off some more discs. For anyone who didn't see it, this is essentially how I proxy my stuff. I just print the title and do it that way. Maybe I should put some arrows on that to help people out know what the direction. But I want to print some proxy stuff and try out some just pure water lists and see what that feels like. And then, like I said, we'll talk about intermixing once we put it all together. All right, well, I think that'll do it for this particular video. Very excited. Let me know your thoughts below if you're watching on YouTube of what do you think of water? Is this something you want to run? And how do you feel it works on its own or so should it be on its own, main, or support? Like I said, I don't think you're going to be intermixing 3 schools in general. I don't think it's terrible. If you take a Maharaj, you can. If you're not taking the Maharaj, do not. If he's not your Warlord. Bad idea otherwise, I feel. But even then, I think 2 schools is probably like the max I'd want to go with. Because I think otherwise you just might be divvying it up a little bit too much. Especially because like with the Maharaj, I can get the markers easily. But if he's, say, the only Earth and he goes away, all the Earth rituals are gone anyway. I find I lose characters no matter what. People know to go after the characters. So of those 3, one of them absolutely won't survive the game. And I usually tend to lose another one late game as well. So I probably want to try to double dip into the school that I really care about having. But let me know what you think. Otherwise, I'm happy everyone at the show has a good hobby. It's a great game.